It was 5 a.m. The alarm blared into the quiet, dark room. Adam's eyes fluttered open, his mind already exhausted before the day had even begun. Staring up at the ceiling, he whispered to himself, "Just 5 more minutes." He silenced the alarm and drifted back to sleep. When he finally dragged himself out of bed, the sun was already high in the sky. Another day had slipped by, just like yesterday, and just like the 100 days before it. He caught his reflection in the mirror and saw a stranger with empty eyes. His dreams were still there, but they felt distant, like clouds you can see but never touch. Adam desperately wanted to change his life. He yearned to be stronger, more confident, more successful. He dreamed of a better job, a healthier body, and a mind at peace. But every single day he was trapped in the same loop. Wake up late, complain about his life, scroll endlessly through his phone, and promise himself, "I'll start tomorrow." The harsh truth was simple. He wanted change, but he didn't want to change himself. One night he sat alone on his bed, the room dark except for the faint glow of his phone. He scrolled through old photos, images of a younger him, smiling, full of energy, full of life. He paused at one particular picture. It was from 5 years ago, him standing proudly with a medal around his neck. He remembered that day so clearly. He felt proud, happy, and brimming with dreams. But now that version of him felt like a complete stranger. A small voice in his head whispered, "What happened to you, Adam?" He had no answer. He had lost himself somewhere between his excuses and his comfort zone. Suddenly, a notification popped up on his screen. It was a message from an old school friend. The message was just one line. "Nothing in my life changed until I did." Those words hit him like a lightning bolt. He read them again and again. He couldn't sleep that night. His heart felt heavy. His mind raced with 1,000 thoughts. He kept thinking, maybe his life wasn't unfair. Maybe he was the one holding himself back. Maybe he was the architect of his own stagnation. In that profound moment of clarity, something inside him finally began to stir. He realized he had been waiting for a miracle while refusing to take a single step. He wanted success without sacrifice, growth without change, and now he understood. That's not how life works. The next morning, the alarm went off at 5 a.m. This time, he didn't hit the snooze button. He stood up, slowly, but with a newfound purpose. The air in the room felt different. The first light of dawn filtering through the window felt like a new beginning. He didn't know what the future would bring, but he knew one thing for sure. Nothing would change unless he did. If this story resonates with you, know that you're not alone. The next morning, something felt different. For the first time in what felt like forever, Adam woke up before his alarm clock blared. The world outside was still wrapped in a pre-dawn quiet. He could hear birds softly starting their day, the wind whispering through his window. Sitting on the edge of his bed, he took a deep breath. His heart was racing, but not with the usual anxiety. This was something else. Something that felt a lot like hope. He walked over to the mirror and stared at his reflection. It was the same face, same tired eyes looking back at him. But today, he saw a tiny spark. A question echoed in his mind. What if I really try this time? He put on his shoes and went for a walk. The streets were empty, and the cool morning air felt crisp against his skin. For the first time in a long time, he felt truly alive. He looked up at the sky, a mix of dark blue and soft orange, and whispered to himself, "If I want my life to change, I have to change first." Those words hit him with the force of a revelation, lighting a fire in his chest. When he got back home, he didn't crawl back into bed like he normally would. Instead, he made his bed with purpose. He tidied his room, clearing away the clutter that mirrored the state of his mind. Then, he took a piece of paper and wrote down a single, powerful sentence. Start small, but start today. This was his new rule. He decided to commit to just 3 small things every single day. First, exercise for 10 minutes. Second, read 1 page of a book. And third, the most important rule of all, No excuses, no skipping. Not a single day. That first day felt incredibly strange. His body resisted, heavy and unwilling to move. His mind taunted him with familiar whispers. You can always do this later. What's the rush? But Adam pushed back. He thought about all the wasted years, all the countless tomorrows that never came. He clenched his fists, determination hardening his resolve. Not this time, he muttered through gritted teeth. He dropped to the floor and did 10 push-ups. It felt like he was trying to climb a mountain. His arms shook, his breath came in ragged gasps. But he did them. Then he picked up a motivational book and read one single page. Each word felt like a tiny spark of light cutting through a lifetime of darkness. He ended the day feeling exhausted, but also proud, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. That night, as he lay in bed, a genuine smile touched his lips. It wasn't a huge, life-altering transformation, but it was real. And it was a start. Days turned into weeks. He stuck to his small routine, relentlessly. 10 push-ups slowly became 20. 1 page of reading turned into 5. He started feeling more focused during the day, more awake, more present. Every small victory, no matter how insignificant it seemed, fueled his confidence. Each drop of sweat, each word he read was a building block for a new version of himself. Of course, not everyone was supportive. Some of his old friends laughed when they heard about his new routine. Here we go again, they'd say. You always say you're going to change. Let's see how long this lasts. Adam didn't argue. He just smiled. He didn't need to convince them. Deep down, he knew this time was different because this time, he wasn't doing it for them. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was doing it for himself. Every morning, he repeated his mantra like a prayer. My life won't change unless I do. He hadn't fully realized it yet, but his journey had already begun. The old Adam, the lazy, hopeless, procrastinating man, was slowly fading away, and in his place, a new Adam was being born. Weeks rolled by, and a transformation was taking place within Adam. It was slow, almost imperceptible at first, but it was real. His mornings, once lost to the endless scroll of his phone, now had a purpose. He started each day with movement, with learning, and with a quiet sense of peace. But this journey was far from easy. Every single day was a battle, not against the world outside, but against the old Adam within. Some mornings, the siren call of his old habits was deafening. The bed felt impossibly warm, a cocoon of familiar comfort. His mind would whisper, just skip today. One day won't matter. But Adam had learned a crucial lesson. Comfort is the enemy of growth. So even on the days he felt completely drained, he pushed himself. He got up, he worked out, he read, he held the line of discipline. Still, the struggle was constant. There were days he felt utterly lost, exhausted by the effort. There were nights his body ached and his mind screamed, "Why are you even doing this? It's not working." He'd catch his reflection in the mirror, and that old venomous voice would return, "You've failed before. You'll fail again." But beneath that noise, another voice, soft but persistent, whispered, "Keep going." One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Adam sat by his window, watching the city lights flicker to life. A wave of weariness washed over him. Was any of this even worth it? He had no major victories to show for his struggle, no dramatic transformation, just a series of small, hard-won battles. But then, a memory surfaced, a piece of advice from his father. Even the tallest trees grow from tiny seeds. The secret is that they never stop growing, not even for a day. Those words were like a lifeline. He realized that success isn't a sprint, it's a marathon of consistency. He didn't need to win every single day, he just needed to refuse to quit. Right then and there, he made a solemn promise to himself. No matter how slow the progress, I will not stop. From that day forward, his mindset became his greatest weapon. Whenever laziness tried to creep in, he reminded himself of his ultimate goal, Whenever he stumbled, he picked himself back up, a little stronger, a little wiser each time. Gradually, the people around him began to notice the shift. His energy was different. His confidence was quietly blooming. He smiled more freely, spoke with a newfound purpose, and carried himself with an inner strength. One day, a friend asked him, "What's going on with you, Adam? You seem different." He smiled and replied simply, "I stopped waiting for my life to change. I started changing myself." He understood then that true growth is a silent process. It doesn't need an audience or applause. It happens in the quiet moments of decision, deep within the heart. And in that quiet, Adam was forging a new man. He was no longer the person who gave up when things got tough. He was becoming the person who kept going, no matter how hard life pushed back. Because he had finally learned the ultimate truth. The most difficult battle you will ever fight is not against the world. It's the one you wage against your own mind. Have you ever felt like you're trying so hard to change, but everything just keeps pushing back? Like you're running a marathon, but the finish line keeps moving further away? If you've ever felt that way, you need to hear Adam's story. Change had started for Adam, but man, it wasn't easy. Every single day was a test of his patience. He was waking up at the crack of dawn, working harder than he ever had in his life, and desperately trying to keep a positive mindset. But life, as we all know, isn't always kind. There were days when literally nothing went right. He'd stumble and fail at new tasks at his job. He faced rejection from people who just didn't believe in his new path. Even some of his closest friends would laugh and say things like, "You've changed too much, what's even the point?" At night, he often found himself sitting alone, exhausted and silent. The city lights twinkling outside his window felt so distant, almost as distant as the dreams he was chasing. He'd whisper to himself, "Maybe I'm just not good enough." It's a thought that visits all of us, isn't it? But then, he'd remember what his friend Ryan had told him. Change doesn't begin out there in the world. It begins inside you. So, he'd close his eyes and take a deep, slow breath. He was starting to understand that real growth isn't supposed to be comfortable. Pain is part of the process. The very next morning, even with a heavy heart, Adam dragged himself out of bed. He laced up his running shoes and went for his morning run. The air was bitingly cold, his legs ached, but he just kept moving. Every step burned, every breath was a struggle, yet he refused to stop. And in that moment of pure effort, he had a powerful realization. Pain doesn't mean I'm losing, it means I'm growing. From that day forward, his perspective shifted. Every struggle became his teacher. When he failed, he learned from it. When he fell, he got back up, a little stronger. When people doubted him, he used their words as fuel for his fire. Sure, there were still nights when he cried quietly. But now, even in his tears, there was a newfound strength. He knew he wasn't the same person anymore. The old Adam would have given up at the first sign of trouble. But the new Adam, he kept going no matter what. He started jotting down his thoughts in a small notebook. On the very first page, he wrote, "Growth is painful, change is uncomfortable, but nothing is more painful than staying the same." These words became his personal mantra. Every time he felt the urge to quit, he'd read them again, and every time they gave him the power to take another step forward. And slowly but surely, his efforts began to bear fruit. He became sharper and more focused at work. He started speaking with a quiet confidence that made people listen. Without even realizing it, he began inspiring others around him. One day, a colleague came up to him and asked, "How do you stay so strong even after failing so many times?" Adam just smiled and said, "Because I learned that pain isn't my enemy. It's my guide." He finally understood. The road to success isn't a smooth, paved highway. It's a rocky uphill climb full of struggles, but that's exactly what makes the journey worthwhile. That night, as he looked out his window again, the city lights didn't seem so far away anymore. A small smile played on his lips as he whispered, "I'm not there yet. But I'm not where I was either." Because Adam had finally learned the most important lesson of all. Every painful step forward is still progress. And that is how true lasting change begins. With pain, with patience, and with persistence. So if you're in the middle of your own struggle right now, remember Adam. Remember that the pain you're feeling isn't a sign of weakness. It's the feeling of your own strength being forged. Keep going. Have you ever felt like you're trying so hard to change but everything is pushing back against you? That's exactly where Adam found himself. The decision to change was made, but the journey, it was anything but easy. Every single day was a new test of his patience. He started waking up before the sun, pushing himself harder than he ever had before, and desperately trying to keep a positive outlook. But life, as we all know, doesn't always play fair. There were days when it felt like the universe was conspiring against him. He'd stumble and fail at his new job, feeling the sting of not being good enough. He faced the cold shoulder of rejection from people who just didn't believe in his transformation. Even his closest friends would sometimes joke, "You've changed too much, man. What's the point of all this?" Those nights were the hardest. He'd sit alone in the quiet of his apartment, a profound exhaustion settling into his bones. The city lights twinkling outside his window felt like a million miles away, just as distant as the dreams he was chasing with all his might. In those moments of crushing doubt, he'd whisper to the darkness, maybe I'm just not cut out for this." But then, a memory would surface, a voice echoing in his mind, his friend Ryan's powerful words. "Change does not begin out there in the world. It begins inside you." He'd close his eyes, take a slow, deep breath, and recenter himself. He started to understand that real growth isn't supposed to feel comfortable. Pain wasn't just a side effect. It was an essential part of the process. So, the next morning, despite a heart that felt heavy with yesterday's failures, Adam got up. He laced up his running shoes and hit the pavement. The morning air was sharp and cold, and his legs screamed in protest with every stride. Each step was a burn, each breath a struggle, but he refused to stop. And in that moment of pure physical and mental struggle, a powerful realization hit him like a lightning bolt. This pain, it doesn't mean I'm losing. It means I'm growing. From that day forward, his entire perspective shifted. Every struggle became a lesson. Every failure was a new piece of data. When he fell, he learned how to get back up, a little stronger, a little wiser. When people doubted him, he didn't let their words defeat him. He used them as fuel for his fire. Of course, there were still nights when the pressure became too much, and he'd cry quietly. But even in those tears, there was a newfound strength. He knew deep down that he was no longer the same person. The old Adam would have given up ages ago. This new Adam? He kept going no matter what. He started documenting his journey in a small notebook. On the very first page, he wrote a mantra that would become his anchor. Growth is painful. Change is uncomfortable. But nothing is more painful than staying stuck in a place you don't belong. Those words became his personal declaration of independence. Every time the thought of quitting crept in, he would open that notebook and read those lines. And every single time, they gave him the power to take one more step forward. Slowly but surely, the results of his relentless effort began to ripple through his life. He became sharper, more focused at work. He started speaking with a quiet confidence that made people listen. Without even trying, he began to inspire his colleagues. One day, a coworker pulled him aside and asked, "How do you do it? How do you stay so strong after failing so many times?" Adam just smiled and shared his secret. "Because I learned that pain isn't my enemy, it's my guide." He finally understood. The path to success isn't a smooth, paved highway. It's a rugged trail full of obstacles and struggles. But that's precisely what makes the destination so rewarding. That night, as he stood by his window, the city lights didn't seem so distant anymore. They felt closer, within reach. A small smile touched his lips as he whispered, "I'm not there yet, but I'm not where I was either." Adam had learned the most important lesson of all. Every painful, difficult, exhausting step forward is still progress. And that is how true, lasting change begins, with pain. with patience, and with unstoppable persistence. Time passed, and the man who once doubted himself was now unrecognizable. This is the story of Adam, and how he changed, not suddenly but slowly, with every choice every morning and every bit of effort he gave. He no longer waited for motivation to strike like lightning. He had built habits, he had built strength, and most importantly, he had built discipline. The same man who once hit the snooze button now woke up before his alarm even had a chance to ring. The same man who once feared failure now looked challenges straight in the eye and faced them with courage. It didn't go unnoticed. His coworkers saw it. His friends noticed the shift. Everyone could see that something was fundamentally different about him. One day, his manager called him into the office. "Adam," she said, "I've been watching you. Your dedication has grown, and your work inspires the whole team." Adam just smiled. He didn't need awards or applause. Hearing those words was more than enough. That evening, as he walked home, a deep sense of peace settled over him. He remembered his journey, the pain, the doubts, the lonely nights spent wrestling with his own inertia. But now, even those difficult moments felt beautiful. Why? Because they had built him. They were the raw materials of his transformation. He had finally understood a profound truth. Success isn't one single, big, flashy event. It's the sum of all the small, seemingly insignificant steps you take every single day. Naturally, people started asking him, "What changed you, Adam? What's your secret? How did you do it?" And he always gave them the same simple, powerful answer. "Nothing changed until I did." His life was living proof that real transformation doesn't require magic or a lucky break. It just needs commitment. The world hadn't given him an easy path, but he had learned to stop waiting for one and started to create his own. He began sharing his story with others, not to boast, but to help them believe in their own potential. He told them, "If you want to change your life, stop waiting for the perfect moment. It will never come. Start right now with what you have. Start with who you are." Slowly but surely, his words began to touch people's hearts. The same friends who once laughed at his early attempts now came to him for advice. The coworkers who once doubted his seriousness now called him an inspiration. One quiet night, Adam sat on his rooftop looking up at the vast, star-filled sky. He felt calm, proud, and deeply thankful. He remembered the boy he used to be. Lost, lazy, and always full of excuses. And he smiled, knowing that boy hadn't just disappeared. He had simply grown into someone better, someone stronger. He whispered softly to himself, "Everything changed the moment I decided to take full responsibility for my life." He now understood that real lasting success isn't about money or fame or luck. It's about becoming the kind of person who never ever gives up on themselves. And as the cool night breeze touched his face, Adam smiled once more. He knew this wasn't the end of his story. It was just the beginning of a new one. Years passed and Adam's life was completely unrecognizable. He had built success with his own hands, brick by painful brick. He found peace in his heart, a new strength in his mind, and a deep sense of purpose in his soul. But more than all the success, what truly made him proud was the man he had become. He was no longer the guy waiting for a lucky break or complaining about how unfair life was. He had become the architect of his own story. One evening, Adam was invited to speak at a local event about change and growth. As he walked onto the stage, a hush fell over the room. Hundreds of faces looked back at him, students, professionals, dreamers, all waiting, all hungry for something. He met their gaze with a soft, knowing smile and began,